Birth and death are the inescapable fate of every individual. From ancient times to the present, people have been filled with curiosity and reverence toward the mysteries of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. This quest for the unknown has always accompanied the development of human civilization. In the vast Buddhist scriptures, the Sutra on the Infinite Life Buddha's Realm, spoken by Manjushri, records a profound dialogue. The Bodhisattva Manjushri, foremost in wisdom, asked the Buddha about the mysteries of birth and death. The Buddha, with his complete wisdom, answered that sentient beings endlessly reincarnate. Birth and death continue in succession, like a wheel turning without end. This simple yet profound metaphor reveals the essence of samsara, the endless cycle of rebirth. However, as the global population growth slows down or even experiences negative growth, is the cycle of samsara itself also facing transformation? The teachings of Bodhisattva Manjushri in the Buddhist scriptures may reveal to us the profound mysteries behind this phenomenon. So, how does Bodhisattva Manjushri ultimately explain the law of birth and death samsara? In the face of population changes, does the underworld truly require restructuring? At a sublime Dharma assembly on Vulture Peak in Rajgir, surrounded by mountains, the Buddha sat solemnly on a lotus throne, expounding the principles of mindful conduct to a multitude of disciples. Manjushri Bodhisattva rose from his seat, joined his palms, and respectfully asked the Buddha, "World-honored one, sentient beings endlessly transmigrate through samsara, with life and death in continuous succession. What ultimately is the cause and condition for this? How can one be liberated from this suffering?" The Buddha's countenance appeared exceptionally serene under the sunlight. He smiled gently at Manjushri, praising him for articulating the greatest doubt among sentient beings. Thereafter, the Buddha began to explain gently that sentient beings, obscured by ignorance, are unable to perceive the true nature of birth and death, and thus become attached to the notion of a self. It is precisely this attachment that gives rise to the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion, creating various karmas, which, driven by these karmas, lead to endless rebirth within the six realms. The Buddha's teachings nourish the hearts of all present like nectar. Manjushri Bodhisattva pondered for a moment, and then posed a further inquiry. Since samsara is propelled by karma, is the number of sentient beings within the six realms constant? If the number of beings in the human realm decreases, will the numbers in other realms correspondingly increase? This question directly addresses the intrinsic mechanism of the cycle of rebirth, and is precisely the contemplation we face today in light of population changes. The Buddha's gaze was profound, as if penetrating time and space, seeing the changes in the future world. Good man, although sentient beings in the six realms each have their own causes and conditions, their overall number is not constant. Just like the water in the vast ocean, although it ebbs and flows, its nature remains unchanged. Sentient beings undergo continual transformation as they cycle through the six realms of existence. This dialogue was later recorded in the scriptures and became an important basis for subsequent generations to explore the cycle of birth and death. The Buddha's metaphor is profoundly meaningful. Samsara is like the ocean water, which ebbs and flows, yet its essence remains unchanged. Does this imply that regardless of population changes, the essence of samsara remains unchanged? The concept of samsara has existed in ancient India for thousands of years. The concept of reincarnation existed in the Upanishads and Brahmanism long before the birth of the Buddha. Hinduism believes that the soul undergoes continuous reincarnation, ultimately merging with Brahman. Jainism advocates that the soul can be liberated from the bondage of karma through ascetic practices. Although Buddhism denies the existence of an unchanging soul, it acknowledges the phenomenon of samsara arising from the law of cause and effect. Although these different schools vary in details, they all agree that life neither begins at birth nor ends at death, but rather, it is a continuous cycle within the endless samsara. In the Buddhist Agamas, Venerable Ananda once approached the Buddha with confusion, seeking guidance. The Blessed One, if sentient beings are reincarnating through countless lifetimes, why then does the population of the world increase and decrease? If samsara is unceasing, shouldn't the number of beings remain constant? In the Sutra of All Beings, the Buddha gently patted the one beside him and wisely explained, Ananda, sentient being samsara is not limited to the human realm. Sometimes one descends from the human realm into the realm of suffering, and sometimes one ascends from the realm of suffering to the heavenly realm. Like bamboo in a grove, though each stalk may flourish or wither at times, the whole life force continues unceasingly. The Buddha pointed to the surrounding bamboo grove and continued, Look at those bamboo stalks over there. Some have just sprouted, some have withered, and some are flourishing. This is like the beings circulating through the 6 realms. Bodhisattva Manjushri further elaborated on this perspective. It uses a vivid metaphor to illustrate that although the number of sentient beings is infinite, the number appearing in a particular realm changes according to causes and conditions. Just as the vast earth is boundless, only where the seed's husk is removed will grass and trees grow. This insightful metaphor reveals an important truth. The numerical distribution of sentient beings across the 6 realms is not fixed or constant, but dynamically adjusts according to changing conditions and causes. The wisdom of Bodhisattva Manjushri, seen from today's perspective, closely resembles the modern theory of ecological system balance. The Earth's ecosystem has its carrying capacity, and the populations of various living beings self-regulate in response to environmental changes. When the population of a certain species becomes too large, competition for resources intensifies, and the population will naturally decrease. When the quantity is too low, competition decreases but will gradually increase again. Does this dynamic balance also apply to the samsara system? Does a decrease in human population mean that the number of other sentient beings will correspondingly increase? According to Buddhist philosophy, the operation of the cycle of samsara strictly follows the law of cause and effect without any deviation. Manjushri Bodhisattva, with his supreme wisdom, explained that all phenomena arising due to causes and conditions are essentially empty, merely nominal designations established provisionally, reflecting the truth of the middle way. This means that although samsara exists, its essence is emptiness. It is a phenomenon arising from dependent origination and not an inherently existent, unchanging entity. Consider that if samsara is merely a phenomenon arising from the convergence of causes and conditions, then changes in population numbers are simply manifestations of these changing causes and conditions. Just like the water in rivers, lakes, and seas, which may exist in different forms such as rain, snow, ice, and clouds, the essence of water remains unchanged. Sentient beings are likewise so. They may manifest in various paths, but the essence of their mind consciousness neither increases nor decreases. Kittagarbha Bodhisattva once described to the Buddha the conditions of the underworld, saying that sentient beings in the human realm are strong-willed and difficult to transform. They leave and return repeatedly in a continuous cycle, compelling him to constantly engage in their salvation. This vividly describes the ceaseless cycle of sentient beings within samsara and also indirectly reflects the complexity of the samsaric system. Sentient beings do not simply transition from one mode of existence to another. Rather, they circulate within the intricate web of interdependent causes and conditions. Manjushri Bodhisattva explains samsara from a higher perspective of wisdom, considering the cyclic existence of sentient beings to be like a dream, a bubble, or a shadow, without any inherent reality. He emphasized that if one can realize the emptiness of their true nature, then the present moment is nirvana. This reveals the ultimate truth of samsara. Samsara itself is like a dream or an illusion, not truly existent. Rebirth appears real only when we are attached to the notion that there is an inherent self undergoing the cycle of samsara. Once the true nature of emptiness is understood, samsara and nirvana are fundamentally indistinguishable. Manjushri Bodhisattva further elucidated the intrinsic mechanism of the 6 realms of samsara, stating that the cycle of rebirth begins with a moment of unconsciousness, which generates subtle modifications in the mind's activities. External conditions act as causes, gradually making these changes more coarse and manifest, ultimately leading to the formation of the cycle of the 6 realms of samsara. This process reveals the mental foundation of sasra and implies that the essence of sasra lies in the continuity of consciousness rather than the transfer of a material entity. From the perspective of Dharma, changes in population numbers are the result of the collective karma of sentient beings. Manjushri Bodhisattva once explained that it is precisely due to the collective karma of sentient beings that the world undergoes the cycle of arising, abiding, decay, and emptiness. The length of human lifespan and the rise and fall of populations change according to karma. This means that population changes are not accidental, but manifestations of the collective karma of sentient beings. The eminent monk Huiyuan of the Eastern Jin period also expressed similar views. He believes that the increase or decrease of sentient beings in the human realm is closely related to the merits and demerits of karma. When wholesome karmic actions increase in the world, the number of human beings among sentient beings will also increase. When the force of evil karma prevails, the number of beings in the human realm will decrease, while those in other realms will increase. This perspective holds that the increase or decrease in population is related to moral standards and karma. This perspective has a remarkable correspondence with contemporary demographic studies. Modern demography tells us that changes in population structure are closely related to factors such as the level of socioeconomic development, lifestyle, and values. Economically developed regions often experience a decline in birth rates and a slowdown in population growth, while some developing areas continue to see rapid population increases. From the Buddhist perspective of karma, these socioeconomic factors are precisely the concrete manifestations of collective karma among sentient beings. Throughout human history, we have experienced multiple significant fluctuations in population size. The Black Death in the 14th century caused the population of Europe to decline by nearly 1/3. After the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century, the global population began to grow rapidly. Currently, several countries including Japan, South Korea, and Italy have entered a phase of negative population growth. Buddhism holds that these changes are all within the scope of the law of cause and effect, representing the collective manifestation of sentient beings' karmic forces. With the emergence of population decline trends in multiple countries worldwide, a thought-provoking question arises. If the human population in society continues to decrease, would the reincarnation system of the underworld also need to be adjusted accordingly? Traditional Buddhism views the cycle of 6 realms of samsara as a system of dynamic equilibrium. If the number of sentient beings in the human realm decreases, does it imply that beings in other realms will correspondingly increase? Manjushri Bodhisattva proposed a fundamental idea that all phenomena in the world are like illusions, manifesting different states according to the changes in the mind consciousness of sentient beings, thereby presenting forms that correspond to the cognition of those beings. From this perspective on the cycle of rebirth, the changes in population may merely be one form of the manifestation of this illusion, rather than an actual increase or decrease. From the profound wisdom of Bodhisattva Manjushri, the mysteries of the cycle of birth and death transcend our imagination. The 5 great mysteries of birth and death revealed by him in the Buddhist scriptures overturn our traditional understanding of samsara. These mysteries not only answer the relationship between population changes and the cycle of rebirth, but also lead us to transcend birth and death and realize our true nature. The first mystery is that the essence of samsara is the continuous flow of consciousness. Bodhisattva Manjushri expounded a profound insight. The three realms are all manifestations of the mind, and all phenomena are created by consciousness. This means that the essence of samsara is not that sentient beings truly transfer from one body to another, but rather the continuous continuity of consciousness. All that we see, as well as the perceiving mind and various thoughts, are like flowers in the sky. They fundamentally do not exist. Samsara is like the waves on the surface of water. Although there is birth and death and change, the nature of the water remains unchanged. When we deeply understand this mystery, we realize that population decline does not lead to an overcrowded underworld or an excess of merit demands, because the essence of samsara is the flow of consciousness rather than the accumulation of physical entities. Regardless of changes in population, consciousness itself neither increases nor decreases. Just like the waves in a vast ocean, no matter how they rise and fall, the total amount of seawater remains unchanged. The second mystery is that the six realms are not geographical locations, but states of consciousness. Manjushri Bodhisattva revealed a profound truth. The mind is like a masterful painter, capable of depicting the myriad phenomena of the world. The five aggregates are all born from the mind. There is no dharma that is not created by the mind. This means that the six realms of samsara are not fixed geographical locations, but different states of consciousness. The realms of deva, heavenly beings, human, asura, demigod, animal, preta, hungry ghost, and naraka, hell, are essentially different manifestations of new forms. The heavenly realm is a state in which the mind is in extreme joy and satisfaction. The human realm is where the mind dwells in a state of reason and wisdom. The asura realm is a state of mind characterized by extreme conflict and contention. The animal realm is the state of mind existing in ignorance and instinct. The realm of hungry ghosts is a state in which the mind is engulfed by extreme greed. The hell realm is a state of the mind characterized by extreme suffering and anger. This understanding overturns the traditional view of samsara. A decrease in human population does not necessarily mean an increase in other sentient beings on the path, because the division of the Tao itself is a distinction of the states of consciousness. We may live in a human world in our physical body, but our mind and consciousness are already in heaven or hell. Even if a person lives in the human realm, if their mind is constantly in a state of hatred, they're actually experiencing the karmic retribution of the hell realm. If they're constantly in a state of greed, they're experiencing the realm of hungry ghosts. The third Aliyavijnana, storehouse consciousness, reveals that karma is not imposed by an external force, but is a choice made by one's own mind. Manjushri Bodhisattva pointed out that the retribution of good and evil is as inevitable as a shadow following its form, and there is no place of peace in the three realms, as if one is residing in a burning house fraught with danger. Karma is not an external coercive force, but the natural consequence of choices made by one's own mind. The traditional understanding holds that karma acts like a judge determining the fate of sentient beings, but the wisdom of Bodhisattva Manjushri reveals that karma is more like a seed. Whatever beings themselves have sown, they naturally reap. When we deeply contemplate this mystery, we come to understand that when the population experiences negative growth, it is not some external force regulating the cycle of samsara, but rather the natural manifestation of the collective karma of sentient beings. All phenomena, in their essence, are the natural manifestations of inherent nature and are not imposed by external forces. The same applies to population changes. The fourth Aliyavijnana from countless past kalpas can be situated in both the future and the present, while the countless future kalpas can also revert to the past tense. This indicates that, from the perspective of ultimate reality, time does not flow linearly. The past, present, and future three times coexist simultaneously. Samsara does not occur solely in the passage of time. It unfolds simultaneously in the past, present, and future. This transcendent perspective beyond time allows us to understand that population change is merely a small part of the interdependent continuum of space and time. A decrease in population in one spacetime may correspond to an increase in another spacetime. The underworld reincarnation system does not require reorganization, as it inherently transcends the limitations of time and space. In the teachings of all Buddhas of the past, present, and future, this wisdom of impermanence is expounded. The Buddha's wisdom transcends the three times, comprehending the truth of samsara. The fifth mystery, and the most profound one, is that nirvana is samsara, and samsara is nirvana. The most astonishing revelation of Bodhisattva, Manjushri, is that samsara is nirvana, and afflictions are enlightenment. This means that samsara and liberation are not opposites, but different aspects of the same reality. From the perspective of ignorance, there is birth and death in the cycle of samsara. From the perspective of awakening, there is inherent liberation. Form and emptiness are not two different things. Emptiness is not different from form, and form is not different from emptiness. They are two aspects of the same ultimate reality. Therefore, from the ultimate perspective, the relationship between population decline and samsara is a non-existent proposition. Because when we transcend dualistic thinking, we realize that the so-called problems themselves are merely attachments formed by conceptualization. Manjushri Bodhisattva, with a great wisdom light, teaches us not to cling to the appearances of population increase or decrease, but to return to the nature of self-confidence. He teaches us that all sentient beings are originally Buddhas, inherently endowed with Buddha nature. Every sentient being is inherently complete, neither increasing nor decreasing, neither arising nor ceasing. The changes in population are merely fluctuations in the phenomenal world, not alterations in ultimate reality. When we stand at the level of Manjushri Bodhisattva's wisdom and re-examine the issue of samsara and birth and death, we realize that birth and death are merely phenomena, not ultimate reality. Samsara is only an appearance, not the essence. Changes in population are illusions, not true. The true ultimate reality is that the nature of mind is inherently empty, beyond birth and death. All phenomena are like dreams and illusions, fundamentally tranquil. From the wisdom of Bodhisattva Manjushri, we comprehend an important truth. Regardless of changes in population or transformations in the world, the nature of the mind itself neither increases nor decreases, neither comes nor goes. The essence of the Tathagata is that it neither comes from anywhere nor goes anywhere. This is the ultimate mystery of the cycle of birth and death. Once, a Zen master asked Manjushri Bodhisattva, "How can one be liberated from the great matter of birth and death?" Manjushri Bodhisattva answered, "Originally there is no birth and death. Why then is there a need to attain liberation?" The Zen master attained sudden enlightenment and burst into loud laughter. This koan reveals the ultimate wisdom that transcends birth and death. When we realize that life and death are fundamentally empty, samsara is nirvana, and that is true liberation. The population decline we worry about today appears so insignificant in the light of Manjushri Bodhisattva's illuminating wisdom of the underworld cycle of rebirth. From the perspective of ultimate reality, there is no fixed number of beings required to undergo samsara, nor is there a fixed system that must operate. There is only a pure original mind, neither born nor extinguished, neither coming nor going. When we let go of attachment to birth and death, transcend the conceptual understanding of samsara, and return to our confident nature, we realize that birth and death are but a dream, and samsara is merely a play. This may well be the ultimate secret that Bodhisattva Manjushri wishes to reveal to us. Under the guidance of Manjushri Bodhisattva's great wisdom, we no longer worry that population changes will affect the underworld cycle of rebirth, for we understand that samsara itself is merely a projection of the mind, and the mind's nature is originally pure and unaffected by changes in population. When we can abide in this wisdom, we transcend birth and death, free from the original mind, remaining steady and unmoving, regardless of the changes in worldly affairs. Whenever we contemplate the meaning of life, let us remember the enlightened wisdom of Bodhisattva Manjushri. Birth and death are like illusions, while the nature of the mind remains immutable. In this ever-changing world, only by returning to the original heart can one find eternal peace.